Before the clash of heaven and hell, before the horsemen first rode, and the balance was ever threatened, the universe was shaped by beings whose legacy is written in stone, steel, and the very bones of creation. The Makers, ancient, mysterious, and peerless in their craft, stand as architects of worlds, keepers of forbidden secrets, and witness to the rise and fall of gods. From the anvil-shaped Forgelands to the shadowed forges where the legends are born, their story is one of triumph and tragedy, creation and corruption. They are the silent hands behind the greatest wonders and the deepest catastrophes, the artisans whose choices echo across millennia. Today, we journey through the hallowed halls and haunted ruins of the Makers, learning of their golden age, their darkest betrayals, and the sacrifices that still shape the fate of all things. I'm Vigil, and this is Video Game Lore. Steel yourself. The fires of the Forge burn once more, and the saga of the Makers is about to be unveiled. The Makers stand as one of the oldest, most mysterious races woven into the tapestry of Darksiders lore. Counted among the legendary Old Ones, primordial entities formed by the Creator, whose will shaped the first realms and life of the cosmos. Their origins reach back before the rise of the First Kingdom's angels and the Second Kingdom's demons, emerging in the wake of the Ravaiim, an even more ancient race of flesh-crafting artisans who established the earliest societies in existence, only to be obliterated by the Nephilim's merciless crusade for a home of their own. In contrast to the warlike angels and the ever-scheming demons, whose endless struggles scarred the dawn of creation, the Makers took a different path. They pledged themselves to a doctrine of absolute neutrality, becoming the impartial architects of reality. Their hands raised the soaring cities of heaven and the hellish fortresses of the abyss, building defenses and wonders for both sides alike without ever swearing loyalty to either. In doing so, they maintained a careful balance, their forges burning for none but the Creator's design. This unwavering neutrality was not born of indifference, but from a divine charge. The Makers were meant to shape and build across the endless expanse of the universe, perfecting the Creator's vision of harmony. Their artistry was unmatched. Their command over matter, magic, and machinery elevated them to the status of living legends. The Maker's story unfolds across the eons, beginning in the primordial twilight when the Creator's presence faded into myth, leaving them as the universe's supreme builders. In their age of glory, they constructed the radiant spires of heaven, the dreaded citadels of hell, and in time, the paradise called Eden, a realm meant as the cradle for the Third Kingdom, humanity. Yet their unmatched ingenuity would have unforeseen consequences. Among the Makers, the master craftsman Gulbannan was seduced by Lilith, the ancient demon queen of hell, who sought forbidden knowledge. From Gulbannan, Lilith learned the secret art of creating life, a truth he came to regret so bitterly that he planned to confess it to his kin, but his apprentice, Bellasatra, murdered her master to preserve Lilith's secret, forever staining the Maker's annals. Lilith, now armed with forbidden wisdom, combined angelic and demon essence to birth the Nephilim, savage hybrids led by Absalom. As the primordial war between heaven and hell raged on, the Makers kept to their own in the Forgelands, its horizons bladen with molten rivers, crystal peaks, and endless workshops. Their greatest city, Tristone, stood as a beacon of endurance and craft, but their peace would not last. Corruption, a virulent blight born from Absalom's seething hatred, began to ravage the Forgelands, twisting their world into a necrotic wasteland and forcing the last of the Makers into fortified redoubts. Amid this ruin, a company of Makers led by Ulthane, the legendary Black Hammer, fled to Earth. There, in the shadow of the coming End War, they built havens for human refugees, hoping to shelter what remained of the Third Kingdom amidst the storm. The Makers' fate was shaped by more than just war. Centuries before the End War, the Abomination Vault crisis erupted, with the renegade Maker Bellasatra allied with the vengeful angel Hadramon. Seeking to unearth the grand abominations, living weapons of flesh and metal, forged by the Nephilim and activated only by the blood of the Ravaiim. These horrors, like Black Mercy, an accursed pistol that rendered any wound fatal, and Earth Reaver, a volcanic siege colossus, threatened all creation. In the abyss-tainted ruins of the Ravaiim's home, death and war confronted the conspirators at the Vault's gate. Too cunning, death hurled most of the abominations into oblivion, sealing away their menace. Another pivotal chapter came when Ulthane conspired with Abaddon and Azrael to prematurely unleash the End War. Ulthane forged the Armageddon Blade, using it to shatter 6 of the seals. This betrayal marked Ulthane's self-imposed exile on the Earth, an act of penance for his role in the cosmic catastrophe. In the aftermath of the apocalypse, the surviving makers on Earth offered their strength to Fury in her quest against the 7 deadly sins, forging new enhancements from the souls and relics of the scattered human survivors. Through triumph, tragedy, and the fires of their forges, the makers have shaped the fate of worlds and left an indelible mark upon creation. Within Maker's society, the act of creation is sacred, a tradition where communal forges pulse with fire and purpose, and lines between master and apprentice are drawn by skill, not by bloodline. The Makers uphold a culture where the greatest honor is to shape, to build, and to pass on the mysteries of their craft, and where shamans peer into the hidden weave of lore, smiths forge realities from molten stone and steel, and warriors stand sentinel over every enclave, each role a pillar of their ancient civilization. Even in death, a Maker's soul is transformed, not forgotten. They transmute the essence of their fallen into heartstones, luminous gems that cradle fragments of memory and personality. These heartstones are then used to animate the constructs, artificial beings of stone and magic, whose ranks include sentinels, warriors, hulks, champions, wardens, and the mighty guardians. In this way, a Maker's legacy is rendered immortal, echoing through the deeds of golems that outlast centuries. Neutrality is more than a creed for the Makers, it is a fundamental law. Yet even among such stoic builders, there are those who walk the path of heresy. Bellasatra, who betrayed her kin from forbidden knowledge, and the Mad Smith, whose unholy experiments turned him into an undead construct, haunting the Abyssal Forge as a twisted legend. Within every forge, every quest, and every construct, the Maker's devotion to craft and legacy blazes undiminished, an unbroken chain of creation, memory, and defiance against the corruption that seeks to erase them from the world. The chronicles of the Forgelands are vast and layered as the mountains that anchor them. From these sacred lands, the Makers, those ancient architects, have given birth to wonders beyond reckoning. Worlds forged by raw creation, the celestial grandeur of the White City, the obsidian fortress of Hell, and the mighty constructs, stonework titans powered by fragments of Makers' souls. When the Makers first claimed the Forgelands as their home, they found themselves prey to a race of colossal, fire-breathing bats. In those early days, the Makers were herded and hunted like cattle, but the hunted soon became the hunters. The Makers rose up with ingenuity and courage, wiping out their oppressors until only the legendary Baythir remained. Yet, as ages passed, calamity came to the Forgelands. The world was battered by destruction, its fate ever teetering on the rim of the abyss. Disaster struck when corruption, a virulent necrotic plague born from Absalom's lingering hatred, invaded what was left of the Makers' realm. Severing them from the Tree of Life, their only escape from the dying world. With the tree cut off, their last hope of resistance, the twin elemental forces known as the Fire of the Mountain and the Tears of the Mountain, was also lost. These primal sources powered their forges and gave them the strength to craft weapons capable of fighting back. Desperate, the Makers poured their dwindling resources into a last, gargantuan hope, the Guardian. The massive construct, animated by 3 heartstones, was designed to annihilate the corruption threatening the tree. But before all the stones could be placed, the foundry was overrun. Corruption sealed the path, and the Guardian was left incomplete, a sleeping giant as the world crumbled. In these dark times, survival became a daily struggle. The Makers, cut off from their sacred energies, spent what little time and strength remained fighting off corrupted kin, forging what trinkets they could, and training for battles they knew they might not survive. They waited for the end to claim them, all the while their legendary craftsmanship held the line against oblivion. Tristone stands at the heart of this desperate world, the central stronghold and primary sanctuary for the surviving Makers. Here, atop an anvil-shaped plateau, perched above the forests, rivers, and volcanic forges, the Makers endure. Carved into the cliffs, the village pulses with the clang of communal forges, a market for potions and talismans, a vigilant outpost that remind all of their unyielding spirit. The 3 immense monoliths that give Tristone its name are more than landmarks. They are symbols of Maker's resilience. Now marred and scarred as corruption spreads its blight, this plague, spawned from the Nephilim's genocide at Eden, darkens the world and threatens to erase it entirely. At the center of Tristone lies the Maker's Forge, the sacred heart of their race. Here, the Old Ones harness the fire of the mountain, piped from the volcanic cauldron, and the tears of the mountain, channeled from the drenched fort's crystalline waters. These 2 forces, fire and water, fused in the forge to create alloys and artifacts that could not be broken by heaven or hell. It was here, in their golden age after the Ravaiim's extinction, that the Maker's forges sang under masters like Aylia and Ballas, crafting marvels that kept the cosmic balance. Ulthane's Black Hammer, said to shake the earth itself, was born here, as were the precursors to legendary weapons like the Armageddon Blade. Maker life revolved around the forge. Apprentices learned beneath the stern eyes of elders such as Eidard, while shamans like Muria infused talismans with ancient power. Warriors like Thane trained in the rituals and markets that made the Forgelands a living, breathing civilization. But catastrophe would strike. During the chaos of the End War, the Forgelands were pushed to the brink, and corruption choked every artery of their world. The cauldron was overwhelmed, smoldering with flames. Drenched Fort's water were poisoned, silencing the tears. The forge fell into silence, its anvil cold, its promise of salvation denied. Without weapons, the Makers could not fight back. Tristone became a fortress. Its streets now housed refugees. The once glorious forge now stood as a grim monument to lost hope, lost to us, silenced by the hands of corruption, as Eidard mourned. Beyond Tristone, the Stonefather's Vale sprawls as the living heart of the Forgelands. A valley of crystalline rivers, forested cliffs, and ancient Maker statues. Here, the legends of the Stonefathers, the primordial Makers whose hands shaped countless worlds, are carved into monoliths that stand watch over the crossroads. The Vale was once alive with caravans carrying ores, water, and fire to fuel Tristone's forges, connecting the fjord's harbors, the drenched fort's aqueducts, and the cauldron's volcanic arteries. The Weeping Crag looms as a battered fortress, bridging the Vale and Baineswood, a place of eroded bridges, shadowy pools, and labyrinthine chambers. Its weeping comes from the endless tears that cascade into abyssal pools, once a vital aqueduct for the Vale's rivers and Tristone's forge. In ages past, it served as a Maker watchpost, and its depths storing relics guarded by constructs. The shattered forge, hidden in the side path of Shadow Gorge near the fjord, is a ruined smithy. Its chambers drowned in lava, its walls scarred by ancient battle, its doors steeled by bomb-blasted gate. Once, it specialized in heavy constructs and legendary blades, its bellows fueled by the cauldron's fire, its runes etched with the names of lich warlords and the weapons they once wielded. It was a place where omega blades were hammered from angelic arms and abyssal gauntlets forged from demon bones. Baineswood, a forested expanse of cliffs, streams, statues, and ruined outposts, was once a vibrant crossroads for Maker caravans and a sacred site for ancient rituals. Massive trees and Stonefather monoliths marked the land, and the woods teems with sentinels, standing guard against old threats, fiery bats and corruption alike. The Nook, bridging Baineswood to the Lost Temple, is a labyrinth of arches, chasms, and secret chambers. It was once a Maker outpost, its aqueducts channeling the drenched fort's tears, its heights used to scout danger, and its depths for storing parts and talismans. The Lost Temple, a sprawling ziggurat of overgrown courtyards and construct-guarded halls, was regarded as a Maker sanctuary. Its arches and gardens pulsed with life, and its vaults brimmed with relics before the End War and corruption closed its doors. The Charred Pass, a scorched corridor south of Baineswood, leads to the Cauldron, a volcanic temple complex at the foot of the Stonefather's Peak. Here, molten rivers and fiery vents once powered the greatest of the Maker's forges. Their flames balanced by the drenched fort's purifying tears. The cauldron was always alive with apprentices, its halls patrolled by constructs and threatened by ancient beasts. The drenched fort, counterpart to the cauldron, is a mighty waterworks, its waterfalls and aqueducts engineered to regulate the flow of the tears of the mountain, essential for balancing the fires of creation. The Foundry, a massive forge temple beyond Stonefather's Vale, was the zenith of Maker engineering. Here, the Guardian was birthed, powered by heartstones, and intended to be the ultimate bulwark against corruption. Its mechanisms, lava channels, and chain elevators are a testament to Maker ingenuity, though a cataclysmic quake collapsed the routes, leaving the Guardian unfinished. The Verdant Hollow, north of the Vale, is a sanctuary of winding trails, dense foliage, and tranquil streams leading to the Tree of Life. It was a sacred grove, untouched by the fires of war or the blight of corruption, where Makers once communed with nature's equilibrium. And towering above all, the Tree of Life rises at the world's edge, a colossal, radiant trunk whose glowing branches pierce the sky. It is a nexus between realms, a portal of life and balance, its roots nourishing the Forgelands and its sap sustaining all creation. To the makers, the tree is both lifeline and last hope, a divine safeguard amid apocalypse, and a reminder that so long as its roots remain, the promise of renewal endures. Throughout the long and storied history of the makers, many figures have risen to renown, but none loom larger in the chronicles of Darksiders than the mighty Ulthane, an old one by birthright and a maker by destiny. Ulthane is older than the celestial hosts of heavens or the infernal legions of hell, and his name is whispered with awe wherever weapons of legend are forged. Like all makers, he hails from the ancient Forgelands. When he left that realm, he left behind his brother, Thane, a warrior of immense skill and a legend in his own right. Kharn, another maker from the Forgelands, once revealed to death that Ulthane was not only a master blacksmith, but had lived among the Old Ones before the coming of corruption and the End War. When the corruption swept through their homeland, leaving devastation in its wake, Ulthane and a small band of makers sought out the Tree of Life, escaping into new worlds before corruption could seal off the path forever. Among his many masterpieces, Ulthane had also once forged a helmet as a gift for his brother Thane as a token of their unbreakable bond. Trapped on Earth after the Tree of Life was closed, Ulthane was approached by the hosts of heaven with a desperate proposition. After Abaddon failed to sway the angelic courts, he dismissed his loyal Hellguard and conferred privately with Ulthane and Azrael, the Angel of Death. Together, these three became the architects of a secret conspiracy that would ignite the premature apocalypse. Ulthane's role was the creation of the Armageddon Blade, a weapon powerful enough to break the seals of fate themselves. He then destroyed the blade and reforged the seals, erasing all evidence of their plan. When the plan failed and the armies of hell claimed victory over Earth, Ulthane withdrew into a self-imposed exile, his heart heavy with shame for the cataclysm he had helped unleash. For more than half a century, the Black Hammer hid among the ruins of Earth, seeking redemption. Alongside the other stranded makers, he built a sanctuary for any surviving human, an enclave called Haven, where he became the protector and craftsman for the remnants of the Third Kingdom. During Fury's relentless hunt for the 7 deadly sins, she encountered Ulthane as the humans under his care fled in terror from the Black Rider's approach. Upon recognizing her, Ulthane offered his gratitude for the relief she provided and asked for her aid in protecting his wee ones. Fury, at first, dismissed the Maker's request, declaring that while her duty was to enforce the balance, she cared little for the fate of humanity. But Ulthane, ever wise, offered to upgrade her weapons and gear in exchange for rescuing any humans she found. He gifted her the Bridgestone, a talisman of his own creation, capable of transporting humans, and only humans, back to the safety of the Maker's Haven. As a gesture of trust, Ulthane gave Fury critical information for her quest, using his innate knowledge of the world to direct her to Wrath's last known location in the Nether, beneath the ruins of Haven. The Watcher praised Ulthane's dedication, but Fury rebuked him, calling the Maker blind to the large game, and upon unaware of the true stakes at play. After Fury's betrayal and subsequent trials, Ulthane showed that his understanding ran deeper than even Fury realized. He revealed to her that the stone structure he had tirelessly worked on since her arrival was in fact a reflecting pool, a mystical artifact capable of transporting its user wherever their heart desired. He urged Fury, now broken but wiser, to find the courage to continue. When Fury questioned how she had survived, Ulthane explained that it was the very humans she aided who found and nursed her back to strength, showing her that their nature was to help and protect those who showed them their kindness. When Fury, humbled by her ordeal, offered Ulthane the mysterious stone sigil, believing it belonged in stronger hands, the Maker refused, awestruck by the artifact. He explained that his creator knew exactly who his true bearer should be, and would never question the wisdom of the Lord of Hollows. With the reflecting pool, Fury was able to confront the Charred Council and Envy in their own chambers. Through a harrowing battle, she destroyed the last of the 7 deadly sins, then used the Lord of Hollows' stone sigil to momentarily halt the Council's wrath. Fury detonated the Talisman of Sin, covering her escape and returning to Haven. There, Ulthane and the Makers faced a renewed demonic onslaught. Fury arrived in time to reveal that the Charred Council itself, fearing humanity, was secretly backing the attack. Fury explained to Ulthane that the full truth she had uncovered, that the early apocalypse was deliberately orchestrated for the purpose of humanity's extermination, that heaven, hell, and the council all feared and hated mankind, and that every event had been a step in the grand design for man's destruction. Fury argued that this shared fear could be turned against their enemies and that humanity could yet win the war. Ulthane, however, pointed out that Haven's survivors were all that remained of humanity, lacking the numbers and arms for open conflict. Fury conceded, suggesting that the survivors hide and build strength in secret, beyond the Council's gaze. Ulthane called the Makers to a final stand, and instructed Fury to use the reflecting pool to find a sanctuary for the poor and unwanted, naming her humanity's guardian and her own new purpose. Accepting this, Fury vowed to use her power to defend and teach humanity until the time came to set things right together. As the demonic attack intensified, especially with the arrival of the Destroyer, Fury asked Ulthane to aid her brother War if she found him, knowing now of his innocence. Ulthane agreed. He then joined his fellow Makers and the last human, Jones, in holding off the demons long enough for Fury to escape with the remnants of mankind. As the battle raged, Jones revealed himself as Strife, wielding mercy and redemption, and unveiling his true identity to Fury. Though the ultimate outcome of the battle remains uncertain, Ulthane continued to survive, slipping deeper into the shattered earth to await War's arrival. In time, he would hold on to one of Strife's revolvers, reforging it and improving upon it, ready to hand it to War when the hour of need arose. During War's own journey, seeking the Griever's heart, he came to Ulthane's domain, there finding a giant hammer blocking his path. War attempted to lift it, but found it impossibly heavy. Samael had warned him that he would need the Black Hammer to proceed. At that moment, Ulthane confronted War, warning him not to touch what didn't belong to others. War immediately recognized the Maker and demanded to know why an old one such as Ulthane lingered on a demon-infested earth. But the Black Hammer ignored the question, pretending not to know War. War insisted he was searching for the Black Hammer itself, and Ulthane, amused, challenged him to have another go, provided he left Ulthane's property afterward. War, undeterred, declared that Ulthane was the Black Hammer. In response, Ulthane pointed to the Black Hammer buried in the earth and invited War to try his luck. The two clashed in a contest of strength, which soon drew the attention of Uriel and her Hellguard, who arrived to punish War for his supposed crimes. Ulthane armed himself and proposed a wager to War who could defeat the most angels. Together, they drove off Uriel and her soldiers, after which Ulthane opened the way to the Griever's lair. He told War that if he could defeat the Griever and return alive, he might finally believe the horseman's claims, but warned him again to stay clear of his property. After War's victory over the Griever, he returned to Ulthane, tossing the Maker's hammer back at him as a greeting. Ulthane greeted him with a smile and rewarded War with mercy, Strife's famed handgun. War, not satisfied, threatened Ulthane with mercy, demanding to know how he had chosen to remain on Earth. Ulthane, unflappable, declared that he did not fear death, and War, lowering the gun, warned him that it was not death he should fear. Later, War uncovered the truth of Ulthane's involvement in the conspiracy with Abaddon and Azrael, and the forging of the Armageddon Blade. When the time came, War gathered the shattered shards and brought them to Ulthane, who, as a maker of unmatched skill, reforged the legendary blade. Ulthane, with his immense strength, was the only one capable of lifting his own colossal hammer, and could toss aside vehicles as though they were toys. He possessed remarkable endurance, enduring War's blows with barely a flinch. Only the Chaos form was able to truly stagger him. His mastery of the forge allowed him to create and restore the greatest weapons in existence, marking him as one of the oldest and most powerful of all the Makers. Elder Eidard is revered as one of the most ancient and influential figures among the Makers, the primordial Old Ones whose hands helped architect the very framework of creation long before angels or demons even had to draw a breath. As the only Elder known in Maker society, Eidard's authority arose not from formal titles, but from the boundless wisdom he accumulated across countless eons. He made his home in Tristone, the cliffside sanctuary of the embattled Makers set in the heart of the Forgelands, a realm shaped like an immense anvil, balanced at the edge of the abyss. Eidard, like all Makers, towered above mortals, standing between 10 and 15 feet tall, his form stout and bearded, his flesh as rugged and weathered as the ancient stones he once shaped. His mighty hands, now worn with age, once laid the foundations for more worlds than any living being could name, raising the shining towers of heaven and the obsidian fortresses of hell itself. Yet, in his twilight years, Eidard confessed that he could hardly remember the touch of stone, a lament for legacy dimmed by the passage of ages. His life stretched back to the eras before even the Charred Council, the Creator's chosen arbiters. Born during the Maker's expansion into the Forgelands, after the Ravaiim's extinction, Eidard rose as a master craftsman and keeper of lore. He oversaw the building of cosmic wonders, and maintained a strict neutrality amidst the endless war between angels and demons, ensuring maker hands shaped the universe without favor or prejudice. In the golden age of Tristone, Eidard presided over communal forges, fueled by the eternal fire of the cauldron and the pure waters of the drenched forge. He mentored a new generation, Aylia, Valius, Thane, Muria, and the eager young Kharn, each learning beneath his watchful eye. Guided by Eidard's wisdom, the makers animated many constructs with heartstones, soul gems that preserved the memories and personalities of their ancestors, and defended their realm against ancient threats, including legendary bat overlords who once herded makers as livestock. But when the End War erupted and chaos tilted the Forgelands towards the abyss, a new horror was unleashed. Corruption, born from the dead throes of Absalom and the Nephilim, began to choke the land, twisting stone and soul alike. Landscapes decayed into necrotic nightmares, once mighty constructs became monstrous, and the Tree of Life itself, the portal to salvation, was barricaded by this hate plague. Makers died by the score, and the survivors crowded into fortified Tristone, grasping at hope as their world died around them. Eidard, his heart heavy with sorrow for his dying people, nonetheless led from the edge of despair, his words laced with grim humor. Life? This world is dying, lad. Choking on chaos and corruption. We can do little to stop it. Soon, the great tree too shall perish, and with it, the last of my people. The Crowfather cast death, still bearing the amulet shards filled with Nephilim souls, into the blighted Forgelands. It was Eidard who'd found the battered horseman in Stonefather's Vale, healing him even as corrupted constructs swarmed. Be still, horseman, you are wounded. Death, ever urgent, demanded passage to the Tree of Life. Eidard revealed that the corruption now blocked the way, and tasked him with restoring the cauldron's flames and the tears of the drenched fort, the heart of the mountain. Through Aylia's guidance, to reignite Tristone's Maker's Forge. Once death succeeded, Aylia and Valus forged the Maker's Key, an artifact to awaken the Warden Gatekeeper and grant access to the Foundry, birthplace of the fabled Guardian and anti-corruption Titan. Death gathered 2 Heartstones, but the third, tainted by corruption, drove the Guardian mad. When the Guardian rampaged into Tristone, Eidard stood bravely in its path in the Vale, shield raised, attempting to purify the construct. The Guardian will be as a newborn, free of corruption. He was gravely wounded for his courage. Turning to death, Eidard urged him, "You had no choice but to destroy him, horseman." With the last of the Maker's strength, he rebuilt the Guardian, expending every ounce of life force. I am a Maker, older than even the Charred Council. The Guardian, once restored, mourned for a moment, then stomped northward, purging corruption and clearing the tree. The place, as Eidard said, where journeys begin, not end. Through every trial, Eidard was wise and measured, quick to laugh even in the face of doom, and respected above all for his care and courage. Despite his age and frailty, he survived blows from the mighty Guardian and wielded formidable magic, his shields legendary, his command of Heartstones unmatched. Eidard's sacrifice sparked a fragile hope. The Guardian's redemption meant the Makers could dream again of Exodus, and death could reach the tree to free the Nephilim souls for humanity's return. Though no canon speaks of Eidard's fate beyond, perhaps his spirit still endures within a Heartstone, his sacrifice echoing forever as Tristone's eternal guardian and the last true light of the Makers against the coming darkness. Gulbannan stands as one of the oldest and most venerated of all Makers, one of those primordial ones who rose after the Ravaiim's extinction to shape the very bones of the universe beneath the vanished Creator's gaze. It was Gulbannan's masterful hands that raised the shining spires of heaven's white city, hell's black citadels, and the radiant frameworks of Eden itself. Through it all, he held to the Maker's sacred creed of ironclad neutrality, never swaying in the endless war that raged between angels and demons. He was a master craftsman of the Forgelands' golden age, his expertise legendary across all realms. Gulbannan fused hell-forged metal with shards of angelic crystal to create weapons no force could break. He brought life to immortal constructs by animating heartstones filled with Maker's souls, and he alone among his kind dared to approach the Ravaiim's ancient flesh-shaping arts, binding matter, magic, and essence into living marvels. These secrets he guarded as holy taboos, reserved for the wisest and most worthy. His workshop lay hidden among the earliest incarnations of Tristone, or in secret forges known only to the Makers. There, he took apprentices under his wing, most notably Bellasatra, a prodigy whom he raised as both student and surrogate daughter, teaching her the delicate mysteries of life forge. But Gulbannan's doom was written in the shadows of hell. There, Lilith, the ancient demoness and mother of chaos, seduced him with words and wiles. Gulbannan, his maker oaths weakened by forbidden passion, revealed to her the clandestine ritual, the Ravaiim's secret of life creation. Lilith, ever hungry for dominion, extracted from him the method to blend angelic dust, the essence of purity, with demonic ash, the fury of hell. With this blasphemous knowledge, she birthed Absalom in the abyss, the first Nephilim, a monstrous hybrid destined to lead his siblings in a war of annihilation. Absalom became the warlord and scourge of worlds, driving the Nephilim in their genocidal search for a home, a rampage that saw the Ravaiim exterminated, and horrors like death, the firstborn craftsman of Harvester and the grand abominations, and his siblings' war, strife, and fury unleashed upon creation. Haunted by what he had unleashed, Gulbannan was consumed by guilt, knowing that the sacred art of life creation was meant only for the Creator. The Nephilim's bloodbath, a legacy of his own teaching, shattered the cosmic balance and led the horseman's betrayal at Eden, a genocide that birthed Absalom's hate plague, the corruption that would one day blight the Forgelands. Determined to right his wrong, Gulbannan resolved to confess everything to his maker kin, Lilith's theft, the forbidden ritual, and the abominations it had wrought. But Bellasatra, his most gifted apprentice, twisted by her obsession with Lilith, whom she saw as a dark goddess, stood in his way. In the gloom of the forge, she murdered her master, dispatching him with a blade through the heart or a hammer's fatal blow. With Gulbannan's silence, Bellasatra claimed his forbidden secrets for herself, pledging loyalty to Lilith and turning her talents to forging rogue construct armies. Gulbannan's legacy is a tragic one, an innovator whose genius gave birth to wonders and apocalypse alike, whose regret humanized the Stoic makers. His shadow lingers in every Nephilim, his children, by proxy. Bellasatra's fall is his failure, corruption his everlasting curse. After his death, it is likely his soul became a heartstone, perhaps animating a silent construct in Tristone or the Foundry, quietly whispering warnings that none would heed. The consequences of Gulbannan's death fractured the makers forever. Lilith's dynasty flourished, Bellasatra's betrayal unleashed chaos, and the Forgelands began to rot beneath corruption's blight. Yet, even in ruin, his art lived on, empowering Fury's whip, death's reforgings, and countless relics shaped by the maker hands. Gulbannan's forbidden forge remains a cautionary anvil, a warning against the hubris that forever tiptoes along the edge of creation's grand design. Kharn is the youngest of the makers in the Forgelands, a fledgling so green that even the elders Eidard, Aylia, and Death himself mockingly call him pup. His youth and inexperience set him apart from his stoic, forge-bound kin, yet within him burns a rare, relentless spirit of exploration. Kharn, towering like all other makers, stone-hewn from an immense strength, lacks the battle-worn wisdom of his elders. But, where others cling to the safety of the forges, he alone dares to venture into corruption-tainted wilds, chasing discoveries none else would risk. Had he lived in the Golden Age after the Ravaiim were wiped from existence, Kharn would have apprenticed in the great forges of Tristone, learning the sacred arts of heartstone animation to breathe life into constructs and mastering the fusion of metals and magic. When Death, cast out by the Crowfather, awoke in Stonefather's veil, it was Kharn who first aided him at the cauldron. Together, they battled corrupted constructs at the temple's gates, and Kharn guided Death to unleash the legendary fire of the mountain, earning a stalker bone destined for Muria's talismanic craft. Eager and endlessly chatty, Kharn journeys ceaselessly from the entrance of the cauldron to the lost temple after the Drench Fort, and on to the Maker's Forge itself. His three-part journey is a symbol of Maker reclamation, each dungeon crawl yielding lost relics amidst battles with stalkers and champions. Each trial, a step toward restoring his people's glory. Kharn's true crucible comes during the heart of the mountain quest. He accompanies Death into the Foundry, the birthplace of the Guardian. After Aylia and Valis forge the Maker's Key, together, they navigate colossal hammer mechanisms and rivers of lava. Collecting 2 Heartstones, the third, corrupted beyond redemption, drives the Guardian into a berserker rage. Though Death alone is forced to destroy the Stone Titan, Kharn bears witness to Eidard's ultimate sacrifice, purifying the final Heartstone and awakening the Colossus which purges the corruption from the north, clearing the way for the Tree of Life. Aylia, one of the only 2 named female makers in Darksiders, stands as the outspoken heart of Tristone's forge, working alongside her silent brother Valis. Together they are the masters of the central anvil, where the flames of the cauldron meet the pure waters of the Drench Fort, to birth weapons blending hell-forged alloys with angelic shards. Less physically massive than her male kin, Aylia is nevertheless a giant in her own right, her muscular tone and flowing hair marking her as both graceful and formidable. Aylia, in the face of the forge, handling all dealings and translating her brother's grunts into booming sales pitches for armor and weapons. From the maker's earliest prosperity, Aylia and Valis honed their skills in Hearthstone-powered workshops, crafting cosmic bastions while maintaining the neutrality that defined their race. When corruption's blight silenced their forge and drove refugees to crowd into Tristone, Aylia's resolve never wavered. Death meets her before restoring the cauldron's fire. As Death returns the fire and the tears to her forge, as thanks, she hands Death redemption, his brother's pistol. She sends Death to retrieve Splinterbone from the shattered forge. Upon success, Death returns the hammer to Valis and brings the forge back to life. With the waters of the Drench Fort restored, Aylia and Valis reignite the main Maker's Forge, crafting the Maker's Key, a construct activator that bridges the lost temple to the foundry. Aylia's practical warmth, help her and she'll help you, drives the horseman's progress, her partnership with the mute Valis symbolizing the Maker's resilience. Her ingenuity in words, his silent mastery and strength, both crucial in purging corruption from the land. Valis, Aylia's taciturn brother and fellow blacksmith, is the silent rock at the heart of Tristone's forge. A towering, helmeted figure, Valis communicates with grunts and the thunder of his hammer, a language understood by all who have witnessed his artistry. While Aylia speaks for them both, Valis's massive hands wield the forge's tools with the authority of a primordial force, shaping weapons to rival the works of even the exiled makers like Ulthane. In the earliest days, Valis refined his craft in the forges that birthed constructs and arms for the worlds beyond. When corruption choked supplies and dimmed the forges, Valis remained at his post, his fire rekindled only when Death's quest brought new hope for the makers. Though he rarely speaks, Valis's actions are eloquent. After the restoration of the cauldron, he rejoices at the return of Splinterbone, and with the Drenchfort's tear flowing once more, he hammers the Maker's Key beside Aylia. Valis has a strong attachment to his hammer, which he affectionately calls Splinterbone. His stoic endurance is a bulwark against the end of days, a silent pillar in the Maker's struggle for survival. Thane, the ancient warrior and brother to Ulthane, stands as Tristone's chief defender. With his weathered crimson armor and massive axe etched with victories across from the abyss, Thane is a figure of legend. Having slain countless foes, Thane is haunted by unfinished debts, monsters like Echidna, Argol, Eideard, and Gorwood. In the Maker's Golden Age, he defended the forges against bat overlords and roamed distant realms. When corruption's shadow fell, it called him home to protect what little remained. When death arrived, Thane challenges him to a friendly duel, teaching the horseman Harvester's revenge and unlocking new combat moves. Thane sends Death to hunt his old nemeses, Gorwood in the Weeping Crag, Eideard in the Nook, Echidna in the Psychomeron, and Argol in the Kingdom of the Dead. Death also retrieves Thane's lost helmet that was forged to him by his brother Ulthane. His skill as a warrior cements him as a blade of the Forgelands, a teacher whose trials forged Death into a true horseman. And he tries to live up to the legacy of his legendary brother, Ulthane. Muria, the revered blind shaman of Tristone, and Maker stoicism into every talisman she crafts. Cloaked in robes, her stone frame and sightless gaze receive the veil of corruption by means of ember divination and mystical art. Unlike her forge-bound kin, Muria channels the spirits of the dead into heartstones, animating constructs with ancestral echoes. Her greatest sin was the creation of Kharn. Experimenting without a maker soul, she substituted a heartstone, unwittingly giving rise to a mad construct that massacred innocents and fled to the scar in agony. Burdened by guilt, Muria seeks redemption through death, gifting him pauldrons and selling potions and talismans to those who aid her. She sends Death to gather stalker bone from the cauldron, a sentinel stone, and other various items from the Weeping Crag, and stinger venom from Baneswood, crafting the Grim Talisman, a relic of abyssal necromancy once designed by the Mad Smith. After the Guardian's awakening, she sends Death to destroy Gorn, easing her conscience. She also crafts the Lodestone for Death to help Orin one of the ancient constructs, helping him track Maker heritage through the fjord's shadow seas. Muria binds the mystic and the martial, her regrets and resilience fueling the last flickers of hope in the Forge. Bellasatra emerges as one of the most infamous traitors in the annals of Darksiders, a Maker apprentice who twisted her destiny through ambition, obsession, and betrayal. Born of the primordial Old Ones, the colossal artisans who carved the Forgelands from the void after the Ravaiim's extinction, Bellasatra was taken under the wing of Gulbannan, the most venerated Maker of his era. Under his tutelage, she mastered the arcane crafts, the fusion of hell-forged alloys with shards of the heavens, and the animation of immortal constructs using heartstones, and even the forbidden Ravaiim inspired art of shaping life itself, skills sacred among makers, blending matter, magic, and soul into miracles of living stone. Bellasatra stood apart from her brothers, less massive but no less imposing. Towering over mortals, her pale skin was flawless as porcelain, except where it showed the subtle cracks of hidden strain. She wielded a hammer and spell with seductive grace that belied her venomous soul. Her voice, a silken whisper, could soothe or destroy. In the Maker's golden age, as they built the shining heights of heaven, the black fortress of hell, and the framework of Eden itself, Gulbannan entrusted Bellasatra with the most delicate of forges, life. Yet, in the shadows of cosmic war, Gulbannan's resolve crumbled. Seduced by Lilith, the demon queen of chaos, he revealed the forbidden secret of Ravaiim flesh crafting. With this knowledge, Lilith birthed Absalom, the first Nephilim, in a profane union of angelic dust and demonic ash. Absalom led his monstrous kin in a crusade that would devastate worlds, including the Ravaiim's annihilation, and spawn horrors like Death, the firstborn forger of Harvester and the Grand Abominations, and his siblings, War, Strife, and Fury. Gulbannan, racked by guilt, resolved to confess his crime to the Makers and expose Lilith's theft. But Bellasatra, who worshipped Lilith as a goddess of creation through destruction, could not bear to see her idol exposed. In the gloom of a shadowed anvil chamber, she struck down her master, by blade or by hammer. The betrayal was swift and final. With Gulbannan's blood on her hands, Bellasatra seized his forbidden knowledge and pledged eternal service to Lilith. Her skin began to bore the first signs of corruption, a darkness she concealed with masterful deceit. Entrusted with Lilith's secrets, Bellasatra vanished from Maker society. She retreated to the hidden forges and began to animate armies of rogue constructs, sentinels, hulks, and wardens twisted with demonic essence, deadlier and more cunning than any Heartstone golem. From her abyssal outpost, she aided Hell's silent incursions, all while maintaining the outward guise of Maker neutrality. Her obsession with forbidden arts led to innovations that would one day inspire the Grand Abominations, self-repairing war machines that blended stone with Lilith's blood rites. As centuries passed, Bellasatra's isolation deepened her malice. The corruption in her skin became a map of inner torment, her eyes burning ever brighter with unholy fire. Her construct armies grew more terrifying, her methods crueler, and her allegiance to Lilith unwavering. Centuries before the apocalypse, long after the Nephilim genocide at Eden, Bellasatra resurfaced in the events of the Abomination Vault. She learned of the Nephilim forged Grand Abominations, Ravaiim flesh horrors like Black Mercy Pistol, the Mortis Blade, and the Earth Reaver Siege Engine, all sealed by death in a forbidden vault. Seeking to shatter the fragile truce between heaven and hell, Bellasatra allied with the rogue angel Hadramon, whose lover Raziel had perished in the demonic wars. Fueled by vengeance and lust for power, Bellasatra and Hadramon sought the blood of the Ravaiim to awaken the abominations, intent on unleashing the apocalypse before its time. She dispatched construct legions, spider-like scouts, and hulk brutes across the realms, engaging the horsemen through feints and ambushes. Death, breaking his own exile to atone for his guilt over the abominations, warned the Charred Council, but kept the vault's location a secret. Charged to act alone, he was shadowed by war. Bellasatra's force struck in a hellish wilderness, and telepathic links through Mortis alerted Hadramon to every development. Elaborate traps ensued, decoy blood cylinders, staged deaths, even Death stabbing himself with Chaos Eater to revive war, all culminating at the vault's portal on the Ravaiim's abyssal-tainted world, now a festering hellscape. In the final reckoning, Hadramon, possessed by Black Mercy, slew Raziel, who had survived as a demon, then died by Death's hand. Azrael arrived with angelic reinforcements, and Bellasatra, her plans in ruins, surrendered to the horsemen. The Grand Abominations were hurled into oblivion, the vault sealed, and Bellasatra's fate left to the Council's judgment. Bellasatra was a paradox, seductive yet fanatical, cunning yet consumed by obsession. She combined the stoic resolve of the Makers with Lilith's serpentine cunning. Her spell hammers shattered armies, her construct legions stalked the realms, and her mastery of life forging nearly rivaled Gulbannan's own. Her presence radiated tragic villainy, her ambition bringing the doom of the Nephilim, and her betrayal fracturing the Makers, her conspiracies nearly unmaking the balance itself. Her ultimate fate remains unknown, imprisoned, recycled into a Heartstone, or escaped to weave new plots in the darkness. Yet Bellasatra's legacy lingers. Her rogue technologies survive in Fury's whip, her enabling of Lilith's schemes seeded corruption, and her treachery remains the Maker's greatest crack, a fallen anvil whose echo is apocalypse itself. The Mad Smith was once hailed as the most gifted artisan among the Makers, his skill at the forge matched only by his daring. In his wanderings, he journeyed to the Dead Plains, where he gathered the arms, bones, and battered armor of the fallen warriors to forge the Grim Talisman, a relic imbued with death's lingering touch. His reputation was such that even the Charred Council sought his genius, commissioning him to craft the legendary Abyssal armor and Fury's weapon of choice, the shape-shifting scourge known as Scorn. But it was the Mad Smith's final creation, his self-proclaimed masterpiece, that marked the threshold of madness and legend. The Abyssal Forge, a sentient construct of staggering power, was designed to channel the wild, unfocused might of the Abyss, birthing constructs of unparalleled potency. Yet, this act of hubris proved too much even for the Maker's tolerance. Branded a heretic, the Mad Smith was exiled and sealed within the Shadowlands, imprisoned alongside his monstrous creation. In isolation, the Abyssal Forge did not slumber. For countless years, it relentlessly churned out abominable constructs, its purpose twisted to sow the seeds of new Abyssal Forges across every world, to claim all of creation for itself. The Mad Smith, witnessing what his pride had unleashed, tried desperately to halt the Forge's relentless production, but the machine he had birthed now defied its creator. When Death, the Horseman, entered the Shadowlands, he found the Mad Smith driven to the brink of madness. The Maker, paranoid and delusional, mistook Death for an assassin sent by his kin to end him. In the ensuing clash, Death proved the stronger, besting the Mad Smith in battle. Only then did the truth emerge. The corruption had shattered the ancient seal, unleashing the Abyssal Forge upon the world. The Mad Smith recognized the danger at last and begged Death to destroy his creation. Death's journey, however, was blocked. Poisonous waters, lethal even to a horseman. To overcome this, the Nephilim gathered 7 shards of Chaos Ore, which the Mad Smith used to craft a talisman, granting Death safe passage to the Forge. With the way clear, Death battled through waves of the Forge's monstrous children, eventually reducing the Abyssal Forge itself to ruin. As the fires of the Forge guttered out, the Mad Smith, broken and weary, pleaded with Death to end his life as well. Death, unmoved, declared that the Smith's fractured mind was punishment enough, but he warned that should he ever give Death a reason to, he would grant the Maker's wish. The Mad Smith, undaunted, mused that it was time to conceive another masterpiece, gifting Death the Abyssal Forge Hammer as a token of his twisted gratitude. Despite his shattered sanity, the Mad Smith remains a terrifying adversary and a smith of unparalleled talent. In combat, he wields a monstrous weapon, a massive bolt gripped in iron tongs. With devastating force, each blow capable of draining Death's strength. His mechanical arm delivers blows of titanic power, and his command of fire is absolute, conjuring shockwaves, searing bolts, and cyclones of flame. But what makes the Mad Smith truly fearsome is not his prowess in battle, but his genius for forging instruments of destruction. Whether it's the mercurial Scorn, the legendary Abyssal armor, or the apocalyptic Abyssal Forge, the Smith has an uncanny gift for shaping the raw power of the Abyss into reality. Yet, this very genius is shadowed by a fatal flaw, a profound inability to control the monstrous creations that spring from his own hands. As the primordial architects of all realms, the Makers wielded unmatched mastery over the very fabric of existence, matter, magic, and the essence of souls, granting them the ability to forge tools and weapons that bordered on the miraculous. Their craftsmanship was never merely physical. Every hammer's strike blended with arcane rituals, every blade quenched in the powers of both the mortal and the mystical. Through this union, they produced implements of such durability, adaptability, and latent power that many were said to possess a will or sentience of their own. Among the Maker's legendary armaments, few were as fearsome as the Black Hammer, Ulthane's personal weapon and symbol of Maker defiance. This titanic warhammer, its head grooved to channel seismic energies, could unleash shockwaves that shattered stone and bone with a single blow. The haft wound with flexible hellforged chains allowed Ulthane to extend his reach, bringing ruin to any who dared threaten his kin. In the hands of Thane, the Maker's might was expressed through massive twin cleavers, great axes inscribed with ancient runes, their wide, brutal blades designed for devastating sweeps and deep, crushing cuts. These weapons could cleave through the armored hides of corrupted constructs and cut down the monstrous spawn of corruption with equal ease. The guillotine, a marvel of guided destruction, was a blade that could curve mid-flight to strike its target, its razor edge inlaid with angelic crystals to ensure it found its mark, an executioner's tool that wrought peaceful justice against demonic foes. Some weapons, known as possessed legendaries, were born from the wreckage of angelic and demonic arms, shattered and reforged through forbidden rites. Enchanted with soul possession, these blades and gauntlets grew sharper and more ravenous with every life they claimed. adapting to their wielder's victories and absorbing the force of incoming blows to unleash in a single, devastating strike. The crossblades, no less ingenious, were razor-edged discs enchanted to return to their master's hand, served as a precise ranged weapon. For fury, the makers wrought ever-evolving enhancements, whips woven with elemental power, armor plates that shimmered with the essence of angels and demons, and infusions that allowed her weapons to adapt with every foe she faced. These modifications, crafted from relics and the very essence of the Chosen, transformed her arsenal into a true extension of her will. Yet, none of these wonders would exist without the rare and dangerous materials the makers dared to wield. Hell-forged alloys, drawn from the deepest forges of the abyss, were dark, resilient metals, their heat-resistant nature allowing them to hold demonic enchantments without breaking. Angelic shards and crystals, harvested from the remnants of celestial weaponry, glowed with purity, white and blue fragments that granted weapons self-sharpening edges and resistant to corruption that mere steel could never match. The most taboo of all materials was Ravaiim's sinew and flesh. Though rarely used after the Nephilim genocide, this living tissue could heal and reshape itself when fused with Maker metal, a relic of the bygone elder race. It was the secret behind the grand abominations, sentient horrors that blurred the line between weapon and monster. At the heart of every construct, the makers embedded heartstones, soul gems pulsating with the wisdom and memories of the dead. These glowing stones not only animated sentinels, hulks, wardens, and the guardian, but also preserved the very spirit of Maker civilization, ensuring that no forge fire or blade could ever truly erase their legacy. Their craft was not limited to the grand and the glorious. Muria, the shaman, would harvest stalker bone, sentinel stone, and stinger venom from the corruption spawn to create talismans such as the Grim Talisman, a relic capable of harnessing the energy of the Reaper himself. The very lifeblood of the Forgelands, volcanic essence, called the fire of the mountain, and the crystalline purifying tears of the drenched fort, was channeled into the forges to temper metals at impossible temperatures, balancing heat and purity to ensure their creations would never degrade or shatter in battle. Adamantine, the hardest of all metals, was discovered in the earliest days of Heaven and Hell's construction. Its resilience made it the material of choice for weapons that would shape the fate of armies. The makers revered it above all else, fashioning the swords and hammers that would arm the hosts of both the blessed and the damned. From the decaying husk of the Chosen, the makers could extract the essence of the Chosen, a magical ichor that, when imbued into weapons, unlocked powers beyond mortal comprehension. And finally, Oblivion Ore, rarer still. This could be scavenged from the fallen remains of champions' armors. This mystical substance could be worked into armor, amplifying its protective qualities and making it worthy of only the greatest of Maker heroes. To be clad in armor wrought from Oblivion Ore was to walk as a living fortress. Through these weapons, tools, and wondrous materials, the makers etched their legend into every stone, blade, and construct. A race of builders and warriors whose forges shape the destiny of worlds and whose legacy endures in every artifact that survives the end of days. Thus, the tale of the makers endures, etched into every artifact, every construct, and every world their hands have shaped. From the first blazing forges to the last embers of hope, their genius built the pillars of creation, even as corruption gnawed at their legacy. Their honor and tragedy, their innovations and flaws, are woven into the destiny of angels, demons, and horsemen alike. But as the hammer falls silent and the forge grows cold, a new story calls us onward. For even as we honor the Maker's triumphs and mourn their losses, the heavens await. In our next journey, we rise from anvil to the highest spires and unfurl the banners of the First Kingdom, the Angel. Join me, Vigil, from Video Game Lore, as we ascend into the myth and magnificence of heaven itself. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the hype button to forge ahead into the next chapter of Darksiders' epic universe. The saga is far from over, and I will see you all in the next